Welcome back to the Better English channel and podcast where you can improve your English through authentic materials, learning to speak not just correctly but more nicely, and some elegant words which will definitely impress native speakers and people around the world, at least in my opinion, I think so. Johan, please, thank you for agreeing to do this.
Oh, no problem. Whenever coffee's involved, I'm there.
Well, I knew I could sort of flirtatiously tempt you in this way.
So you can always twist my arm with a coffee.
Yeah, of course. So, how's your day so far?
It's been good. I mean, it's a Sunday morning, so very relaxed. Wake up every morning usually with a cup of coffee, but not today because I came here, was coming here, and just reading the news.
Reading the news. Oh, so, what state is the world in today?
If you want to give it a numerical value, can we begin with a minus?
I suppose, yeah.
As far as the Russian weather goes as well, I mean, it's
minus 15. It's
minus 15 today, so I guess the world is at a minus 15 at the moment.
Frankly, it's Baltic, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's where as soon as the wind hits your head, it actually hurts your forehead. So.
Yeah.
And your morning, sorry.
Well, being honest, I hate to start off negatively, but I woke up in agony because I slept funny. So I usually get this pain in my neck. So we are, of course, both native speakers of Her Majesty's English language, as I prefer to call it. But we're both in Russia, in Chelyabinsk, to be specific. Who could forget?
Sure.
So, first of all, why did you come to Russia? Because I've told my story, but why did you come to Russia?
I mean, it's a question you always get for the first time from students and natives, Russian natives alike, and native teachers as well. I've always wanted to come to Russia. It's always been a dream. I mean, through high school, primary school, learning the Russian history has always been intriguing. And always, whenever I moved from country to country to teach, I always looked at Russia for a good opportunity. And then luckily, after my last job, which was in Malaysia, I spotted Chelyabinsk and the English club, and I'm like, well, this is it.
So why not Moscow then?
I'm not a big fan of large cities, to be honest with you. I mean, I love the atmosphere there, but to work and live, there's only two big cities that I can see myself living. I mean, I've lived in London, which I love for some reason. I love London. I can always live there.
For some reason, yeah.
It's the hustle and bustle, it's everything. And then Rome. Again, it's the history of Rome.
Yeah.
Around one corner you have Renaissance, and then you turn another corner, it's like, oh, there's a Roman ruin.
Yeah. I've never been to Rome, sadly, but I have always wanted to go for the history alone.
I mean, the moniker is not wrong when it says it's the eternal city.
Yeah, and I do see it in that kind of way, as a Rome of 2,000 years, at least.
That's true.
So yeah, I'd definitely like to visit and travel there. So you mentioned Southeast Asia.
Yes.
So what was it like traveling there? Because I've not been thus far in my life, but what's it like going there as an Englishman? Well, sorry, as a native English speaker. Should explain you are from South Africa, right?
Former colony, so yes.
So you kind of count, yeah.
Well, I'm from Durban in South Africa, which we call the last outpost for the British Empire.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I always tell people, and it is a fact of life. I mean, traveling as a male, as a man throughout the world is a lot different. And a white man as well, so Caucasian, if you will. That was great. I mean, it's convenient. I mean, countries like Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, they gear towards tourists because that's one of the main industries.
Yeah.
So it is wonderful to travel through. I mean, they only have two seasons, which is humid and bloody wet.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's a big difference. It's a big change coming to Russia. But no, it's beautiful. And the friendliness of the people and the cuisine, the food. The cultures.
Yeah, but are you ever sort of, seen as the other, as the different? Because in Russia, we can, at least in this city, we get it a bit. It's like, I mean, I think about it probably in a slightly more ridiculous, romantic manner of sort of Graham Greene. They called him the Englishman, that sort of thing. But in Asia, you noticeably stand out more.
We are visibly different.
Yeah.
Not so much. I mean, in Malaysia, they are very multicultural. I mean, they have Chinese, Indian, Malay, Indonesian. So we don't stand out that much, and there's a huge expatriate community. But I definitely saw that in Korea. Not the big cities like Seoul or Busan in the south, but if you go to the smaller towns, they stare at you. You are an anomaly.
Yeah.
It's something different that you
Right.
don't see. Like a man walking down the street with a tutu, which is could look good, but
Yeah.
it does catch the eye and it's different. Well, I would say it does lead to some benefits, definitely.
Mm.
I mean, we did get treated differently in a positive and negative way. I mean,
Would you say more positively, or for example?
more positively, more positively. Well, for example, the one time this is my first year in Korea. We went down south to Busan. There are a lot of islands. We did an island hop the one time, and me and my friend, we missed the ferry going back to the mainland. And lo and behold, an old man came with his little, it's like a 3-wheeled pickup truck, but it's tiny, it's very Korean. We didn't speak a lick of Korean, nor did he English, and he just picked us up, took us to his house, his wife made us dinner, we had a chat with our phones and everything.
Yeah.
And it was great, I mean, so they are friendly, they're open to it. But again, of course, there's the negative stereotype.
Treated as strange and...
I mean, it as strange, but I mean, it does come with reason. I mean, certain places you go to in certain countries, foreigners have been there before, and the way they acted, I can understand that the locals are not as open, so they do treat us a little bit, not in a standoffish way, but they're a little bit more reserved.
Suspicious.
Suspicious,
maybe.
yes.
Yeah. I felt the same. I think the most different place I've been to was probably Costa Rica, about 2016ish, I think it was, and yeah, like even in the capital, or even in the sort of different regions where you're basically in the jungle almost, you go to the local restaurants and you are the only one there who is from other parts, and sometimes it's okay, but it can be really like I can understand why most people would say this is unsettling or uneasy.
Is it because you feel isolated?
Yeah, like not just there's a language barrier, so that a lot of them don't speak English, and they're very not just suspicious, but they can be quite intrigued to the point that they will sort of want to approach you. And if you're not a man, then that can be quite intimidating.
It can be. I mean, I travelled with one of my female colleagues from Malaysia. We went to India together, and even when we're walking on the street together, she still had some problems. Yeah. So in certain countries, I mean, I'm not just in any culture, it does happen. Yeah,
it's just fact, I guess. But let's talk about this city for a second. What are, because if I have, say, online students, they always say, "Oh, why Chelyabinsk?"
Exactly.
Why? But then I explain to them the similar reasons for you, and they say, "Well, what could possibly be in Chelyabinsk?" I remember when I left Moscow the first time, one of the business students I had said, "Well, which city are you going to next?" And I said Chelyabinsk, and this guy just went, "Why?" And I was like, "Come on, it's like people in London who think that outside of London there is no civilization." Sort of
exactly.
thing.
We know someone. Oh, where are you from in England? Well, outside London.
Yeah, and that covers most of it. But I think it's actually not too bad. Like you can live here for a little bit comfortably. So, what do you like about this city?
Yes, I mean the first thing, as you normally do, you pop onto Google to see the city. First thing that comes up is the meteorite.
Oh, yeah.
From 2004.
On my birthday that landed,
Yeah.
On 15th of February. I think it was 2011, something like that.
All right,
so
Clark Kent.
It was a sign.
This is where you come from.
Yeah.
This is how we arrived in Chelyabinsk.
Yeah.
No, I mean then you see the meteorite, and then of course there is the ecological problem that they have. But that being said, just outside the city, it's 20-30 minutes outside the city, and you have the Chelyabinsk Oblast, the region, and you have the Urals, the mountains, the scenery, the forests.
It's considered
lakes.
The best nature in Russia.
Oh, it's beautiful. Whereas, I mean, from Moscow you have to travel about 2 or 3 hours to get out of the city.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is that benefit. And again, I mean, I always tell my students, okay, we, as natives, we do see the city through, like, rose-tinted glasses. So, I mean, we don't live here, we're not anchored here, so we can leave at any time.
Yeah.
So we do see the city through that as a long-term tourist almost.
Yeah, like sort of an extended stopover.
Exactly,
as it were.
But the people have been friendly. I mean, another reason I came to Russia is because we don't have to smile outside strangers.
Like Victor Meldrew.
I love it.
He's a miserable bastard.
No, because I mean, when I was in America, I mean, it's the people are friendly, and I will never take that away from anyone. It's great, but I mean, it does work on your cheeks.
It's all's well ends well, or will end well, I guess.
Let's see what 2021 has in store for us.
Speaking of the new year, that sort of jumper hoodie is sort of quite Christmassy, is it not?
It is rather Christmassy. I mean, I picked it so it's not too Christmassy, so I can wear it any winter season.
Yeah. So speaking of Christmas, I believe that you have some Christmas-related words, strange words, which
I do.
So would you mind?
I'm going to test him.
Yeah, you're going to test me, and I'm going to fail. So
no, I mean he shouldn't. I mean
shouldn't, but also doesn't mean can.
So if there's some awkward editing involved, then you know.
Yeah, some strange sudden jump cuts.
Suddenly he's in his apartment again, answering a question. The easy one to start with is we always say it's Christmas time, it's a Christmas season, but do you know another word it means? It's an archaic word for Christmas time? Old English?
God. I give in already.
I mean,
I might know it, but I can't call it to mind.
It's one people sometimes get wrong because they say the Yule time.
Ah, yeah.
Where's the Yule tide?
I was thinking of Yule tide, but I didn't know that was the time of
Yule.
Yeah.
which was Christmas. I mean, it's just an old English word.
Yeah.
Moving way more from your British and your American cultures. I mean, we have Santa Claus and the elf. Russia has Ded Moroz.
Yeah. Is it a question for you?
Oh, sorry.
Which do you think is American Santa Claus or Father Christmas?
Ooh, this is the one thing living in South Africa, because we have a huge British influence from history, but then from a cultural perspective, it's a very big American. I want to say Father Christmas is British.
It is. Well done.
It just sounds more polite.
Yeah, because we wouldn't say like Dad Christmas. It would be Father Christmas.
But then, have you heard the Kris Kringle? I mean,
what?
Kris Kringle's another name for him.
I've never heard that. No.
But
I hate this Saint Nick as well.
Saint Nick,
which is it's fine in a poem, but I wouldn't actually refer to him as Saint Nick.
No, I mean again, be polite for the guy who brings you presents.
Yeah.
Saint Nicholas. Yeah. And the one it's a winter's drink, always drink. But if you move through any Scandinavian or German, Austrian, Czech market, Christmas market, you always see mulled wine.
Mulled wine. Yeah.
How do you feel about mulled wine?
Again, I don't like it because I don't like this sort of hot, sticky.
Is it a tart also? I mean, you can make it very sweet, but
it's just. I think it's for people who. I mean, I enjoy wine as wine, so I can't drink mulled wine and still think it's the same.
Appreciate the wine side of it.
Yeah, like it's just I'd rather have a different drink, and every time I've tried it, I just never took to it.
Sure, I mean, if I do have a cheap bottle of red wine, then it's mulled wine. Or in the summer we'd make, I believe the Spanish called. I'm gonna torture this world.
Yeah, gonna butcher it.
Butcher it completely. Calimocho, which is like Coke and red wine mixed together.
I've never seen that.
It sounds awful.
Yeah.
But it's actually quite lovely. But for Christmas, I mean, Christmas decorations, tinsel.
Tinsel, yeah. Well, how do you feel about tinsel? Basically, on a tree, yay or nay?
On a tree is fine. People try to put it around your neck, and it's in the same league as glitter for me, in the decorative world.
Well, did you know that tinsel actually used to be quite an upmarket thing? Used to be quite nice because it used to be actual silver.
Oh, I can imagine that. Yeah.
And so when it became the sort of artificial, sort of flaky sort of tinsel that we get now, it's actually considered not right or not traditional on a Christmas tree. So if it's real, like real silver, then by all means. But if you wanted to do your tree in the most sort of aesthetic, royal approved manner, then you would sort of avoid tinsel, especially not to sort of like blue tack it to the fireplace as we used to do as a kid.
Most families do.
Yeah.
We did it as well.
Yeah.
So next Christmas you've got this hard lump of blue tack.
Yeah.
that you have to reuse it almost.
Yeah.
But it's a nice segue. I mean, you talk about to be royal. You know where the Christmas tree became popular? How it became popular?
Well, I believe the common belief is that it was Prince Albert, but actually, I think it was Queen Charlotte.
Yeah.
Who had more of an influence on it. Again, I forget the details, but it was, regardless, it's still a long time ago, about that time ago.
It is, yeah. I mean, I think she had more influence. Prince Albert is, again, more connected to the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, before that. And then what do we call that tree that we use?
Do you mean the technical name of the tree, or the...
Wait, that kind of tree is 2 nouns, it's a compound noun, 2 words put together.
I feel like I do know this, but what's the first letter?
It's just to describe how it looks always, how it always looks.
Oh god.
There's an E, starts with an
E. Evergreen.
Evergreen.
Yeah, evergreen tree.
Sorry.
Basically give me 50% of the word.
Because I mean, for us, it's always been an artificial tree.
Yeah.
We never use the real one.
least-
Mulled in South Africa, so.
It's one of those things like, sort of the more middle class and upper class you go, then the tree's more likely to be real.
True.
Alright, another tree related question. When do you think is the right time the tree should go up? Sort of mid-November.
Ooh. I mean, this is again. I think it depends on the family, the clan, or the culture. For us, it was always 1st of December.
As early as that.
As early as that. But in South Africa, of course, we decorate palm trees, so it's completely different.
Well, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Do you think there is a right time to put it up? Like technically right time?
Ooh. Later than most shops do.
Yeah.
Which is basically September,
Yeah.
July almost.
Yeah. After like Asda and so on.
I mean, if I had to say, I mean, I think 2 weeks before Christmas should be a decent amount of time. I mean, we have the Advent calendar, which is going to be the next.
It's like 12 days before, 12 days after.
12 days before Christmas. And I mean, when do you reckon? When did you used to put it up?
Well, we used to put it up about 12 days before, but I think the sort of more proper way to put it up is according to the Church of England, which they say is about the 17th of December. And I'm not sure after Christmas how long it should be before it's taken down.
For us, it's usually 1st of January we take it down because it's the new year. It's done.
Yeah. Although I remember when we were kids, we kept it like a couple of days after New Year because that was about 12 days then.
I guess true. Okay.
And it was sort of almost like when we could be bothered to take it down and put it back in the loft.
For us, it was different because I mean, for us, it's summer, so Christmas for my first 18 odd years were you're in shorts, baggy shorts, flip flops.
Yeah.
T-shirts.
Yeah.
So we had summer holidays, which was about 2 months long. So the Christmas time was a proper holiday.
Yeah.
In the UK, you would have got 2 weeks.
2 weeks-ish, yeah. So I remember we'd usually finish school, primary, secondary school, about 21st of December, and then go back to school like the first Monday, something like that. So usually like 3rd or 4th of January.
I mean, that's another question I wanted to ask you. Do you feel like it's Christmas in Russia? Because I don't know if your viewers know when they celebrate Christmas in Russia.
Well, yeah.
If you talked about it before.
Yeah, so like for us, like obviously we would say 25th of December, but in Russia it's, I mean, Christmas is it's like the 7th of January.
Yeah.
And New Year is what British people would think as of their Russian Christmas. So it's the New Year instead.
That's when they exchange gifts. And
and they have the same traditions and so on. So does it feel like Christmas? Not really. No. It's not a bad way. Just it's unusual.
It is. I mean,
like the first Christmas actually of not being at home. So it's
true. I've had a few Christmases, but I've always been off on Christmas.
Yeah.
But here it's still a working day.
Yeah.
Which again, it's not a problem.
Yeah,
but it does feel a little bit different.
Yeah, it feels a bit different, but I'm sure we'll survive. We'll make it.
I reckon we would with enough mulled wine or snowballs in your
just wine. Yeah.
Or just wine.
Yeah. Last quick point to finish on. We're both English teachers, so what is, in your opinion, the most effective way to learn English?
Well, I mean, it is a question that always comes up from almost every student.
Let's assume we're talking to the sort of the elementary, pre-intermediate student who is okay, but needs to go much further, much faster.
I mean, a mistake with a lot of students, and I also made it when I started learning other languages, is do not just rely on the book that you have and the time you spend in class. To learn a language is to immerse yourself in it. I mean, surround yourself with it, because you have to connect everything with the language. Yeah. So I mean, the first time we learn a word is not as an abstract thought. So an apple was not the first time your mom mentioned it. This is the first time she threw it at you as a child. Then it made a real connection.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would say just immerse yourself. So I mean, these days we have apps, we have YouTube. Just listen to the language, listen to it being spoken, the words being used, how they use it. Spend about an hour, if possible. I mean, it's not easy for everyone, but an hour, 2 hours every day.
Yeah, at least something every day.
At least something, even if you're just in the background listening to it, or you're reading an article or something. Not necessarily sitting down and studying it.
Yeah, just for leisure. Because at least that's one thing that I see as a problem, is that students who go to classes anyways, that all they do is that 90 minutes twice a week.
Exactly.
And it's not enough.
It's not enough.
Like, maybe in 5 years you might make good progress, but if you just did half an hour every day, you would like massively speed up that progress, it seems to me.
And I've seen it now from Korea to Malaysia, even in Europe in some cases, in Russia, it's the teenagers' level of fluency and accuracy is a lot higher now than the adults. Even though the adults have studied longer, because the teenagers have this opportunity. They have YouTube, TikTok, they have podcasts, they have everything. So their fluency is a lot better.
Yeah, because they're more in that world, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, but you, John Paul, hit it on the nail on the head. I mean, you have to do it for leisure or leisure.
Yeah. You basically have to enjoy it.
You have to.
Because you never stick to something that you don't enjoy.
No, and sadly, I mean, if you just get it at school, it's going to pound you down. It's going to have a negative connotation to it. So enjoy it. Yeah. Luckily, it is the universal language for now.
Yeah, for now. Well, I think that's a sort of more pleasant note to end on. In which case, thanks to everyone who's watched this far, if you've made it to the end. I suggest that you go back and watch it with subtitles. As usual, try without subtitles, and you can download the free full PDF transcription where you can actually study all of the most useful and interesting words, because when two natives speak to each other, naturally it's faster and the vocabulary is probably a bit more expansive, more wide, and I think there is going to be quite a lot of phrases which will come in handy in this video, so I recommend you do that. And until the next video, thank you all for watching, and Johan, thank you very much.
Much obliged.